Today we're going to have our lesson on equations with the distributive property. If you haven't printed out the video guide, go ahead and pause, print that out, and come back. In our last lesson, we talked about what the distributive property is and how you have to multiply each term inside the parentheses by the number outside of the parentheses. For this lesson, we are going to use that concept in equations. So taking a look at number 1, we have 6 and then parentheses, x plus 4, and the parentheses equals 42. So I'm going to put my line through the equal sign like I always do. Now to solve this equation, I don't want the parentheses there. Okay, if the parentheses weren't there, I'd be able to solve it. So to get rid of those parentheses, we will use the distributive property. Now remember, if a letter is by itself, it's like there's a 1 in front of it. So if I put the 1 there, I'm going to go ahead and distribute the 6. So multiply by the 6. 6 times 1x is 6x. And 6 times a positive 4 is positive 24. So if it's positive, put an addition sign. If it's negative, put a subtraction sign. And then this equals 42. At this point, now that the parentheses are gone, it's just a two-step equation. So we go back to the same rules that we learned before. Cancel out the addition and subtraction first, and then the multiplication and the division. So I'm adding a 24, so I need to cancel that first. To cancel out plus 24, we just subtract 24 on both sides. They cancel. I get 6x equals 18. And then my next step, to cancel out the 6, this is 6 times x, so the opposite would be divide. I'm going to divide both sides by 6. X equals 3. And that's our solution. Okay, problem number 2. We have negative 7 parentheses 2h minus 8 equals 28. So again, with the parentheses there, I can't solve this equation, so I want to get rid of those parentheses. To do that, we're going to use the distributive property. So we're going to multiply by the negative 7 to both terms. Please do not forget to multiply both terms. So negative 7 times 2h is negative 14h. Negative 7 times a minus 8, that minus sign goes with the 8. So negative 7 times negative 8 is positive 56. And that equals the 28. So now that my parentheses are gone, I can cancel out the other numbers, the negative 14 and the 56. Remember, cancel out adding and subtracting first. So this plus 56, to cancel it, I just do the opposite. So we subtract 56 on both sides. All right, for problem number 2, we have negative 7 parentheses 2h minus 8 and the parentheses equals 28. So to solve this equation, we don't want the parentheses there, so we're going to use the distributive property. Remember, multiply both terms inside the parentheses by the negative 7. So negative 7 times 2h is negative 14h. And then we need to multiply negative 7 times the minus 8. Don't forget the subtraction sign. That goes along with the 8. So this is like negative 7 times negative 8, which is a positive 56, equals positive 28. So now that the parentheses are gone, I just solve this like a normal equation, what we're used to. So I need to cancel out anything that's being added or subtracted. The 56 is being added, so I need to cancel that. I will do the opposite, which is subtract 56 on both sides so that they cancel. The negative 14h just comes down, and 28 minus 56 is negative 28. Our last step is to get rid of the negative 14. This is negative 14 times h, because they're right next to each other. So the opposite would be divide. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 14. My negative 14's cancel, and negative 28 divided by negative 14 is positive 2. At this point, go ahead and pause the video, try numbers 3 and 4, and then restart the video to check your answers. For problem number 3, you needed to do the distributive property and then solve. You should get that m equals 5. If not, go ahead and check your work with what I have here. And then problem number 4, you needed to distribute the negative 4 and then solve for k. Your answer should be k equals positive 2. Again, if you did not get the same answers, go ahead and check your work with mine, and then we'll move on. So for problem number 5, it looks a little bit different. We have 10 parentheses 3w minus 1 equals 8 parentheses 4w minus 5. So you'll notice the difference is that we have 2 sets of parentheses, one on each side. We still need to do the distributive property to get rid of those parentheses. We can't solve this with the parentheses there. So my first step is to multiply. 10 times 3w is 30w. 10 times a minus 1 is negative 10, so we put minus 10. On the right-hand side, we have another set of parentheses, so I'm going to do the distributive property again. Distribute the 8. 8 times 4w is 32w, and 8 times negative 5 is negative 40. At this point, you'll notice that we have a w on both sides, 30w and 32w. We need to get those letters together. So I'm going to cancel out the w on the right-hand side. Remember, I like to move my letters to the left, the numbers to the right. So to cancel out a 32w, I need to subtract 32w on both sides. 30w minus 32w is negative 2w. The minus 10 comes down, as does the minus 40. These 32's cancel. From there, I like to have my numbers on the right, which means I need to cancel out the minus 10. To cancel it, we do the opposite, so I will add 10 on both sides. The 10's cancel. I get negative 2w equals negative 40 plus 10 is negative 30. Almost done. Okay, my last step is to divide. I need to get rid of that negative 2. So I divide both sides by negative 2. They cancel. W equals 15. And that's our answer. So the steps that we followed for this one, get rid of the parentheses. Move all letters to the left, all numbers to the right, and then divide. So we'll do the same thing for number 6. We have 5 parentheses 7g plus 4 equals 16 parentheses 2g plus 2. So get rid of those parentheses. Do the distributive property. Multiply by 5. We get 35g plus 20 equals, over here we will multiply again. We'll get 32g plus 32. After we get rid of the parentheses, my next step is to get the letters on the left side, which means I need to cancel out the 32g. To do that, I'm going to subtract 32g on both sides. $35g minus 32g is 3g plus 20 equals 32. These 32g's cancel. After that, I need to get the numbers on the right side. So I need to cancel out the 20. To do that, we do the opposite. So I will subtract 20 on both sides. They cancel. I get 3g equals 32 minus 20 is 12. And last, I need to divide. Divide both sides by 3. So to cancel the 3, we'll divide both sides by 3. They cancel. I get g equals 4. That's my solution. At this ahead and pause the video, work out problems 7 and 8, and then restart the video to check your answers. Okay, our last two problems, 7 and 8. For number 7, we needed to do the distributive property, and then we got our variables together, and then our letters, or our numbers together, and then we divide. You should get that k equals -7 for your solution. If not, check your work with mine. And then for number 8, again, I did the distributive property first, got the letters together on the left side, the numbers together on the right side, and then divide. You should get that y equals +1. Again, if you did not, go ahead and check your work with mine. At this point, we're done with our lesson on equations with the distributive property.